How does one transition from living on the streets, begging for money, to owning multiple mega mansions, billion-dollar businesses, and rare supercars? Allow me to introduce you to John Paul Doria, the homeless individual who emerged as a multi-billionaire. During his childhood, John Paul endured peril, destitution, and neglect. Raised by a single mother grappling with financial challenges in East Lead, he didn't begin with the privilege of a small loan of a millionaire. Despite his impoverished upbringing, he harbored an unwavering determination to achieve wealth. He began his entrepreneurial journey by crafting flower boxes in a local wood shop, purchasing them for 25 cents each, and then selling them to diner waitresses for 50 cents. Although his mother was proud of his efforts to assist the family, she knew it wasn't sufficient to make ends meet. Unable to afford to provide for him, she reluctantly placed John in foster care when he was just 7 years old. Despite the separation, John's longing for home drove him to seek employment. Every morning, at the early hour of 3:00 a.m., John Paul would rise to peddle newspapers and Christmas cards throughout the neighborhood. Despite his tireless hustle, financial struggles persisted. Nonetheless, his mother's resolve remained unyielding, ensuring that their predicament did not deter John from extending a helping hand to others facing similar hardships. One Christmas, a man was ringing a bell, and my mom instructed my brother and me, "Take this dime, split it in half, walk over, and put it in the bucket of the person ringing the bell." Confused, we returned and asked, "Mom, just a dime? Why?" She replied, "Boys, that's the Salvation Army. They help people, regardless of how little we may have. There's always someone in greater need. We do what we can. Even if it's just a dime this year, we're making a difference." Her words left a lasting impression on me. However, as a young boy growing up in Leh, John faced immense challenges. Feeling the pressure to survive, he saw joining a street gang as his only option. The gang he joined, known as the Pink Rats, may have had a peculiar name, but their actions were far from harmless. Armed with knives, they instilled fear in the neighborhood, resorting to violence to steal money from others. John maintains that they never resorted to stabbing, but rather used intimidation tactics to achieve their goals. Despite the dangerous environment, John persevered, navigating his way through adversity to ultimately find success. It's clear the gang life didn't help him in the long run though, cause John was one bad move away from getting kicked out of school or worse, going to prison. He needed something that would push him in the right direction, and his teacher did just that. One day during his maths class, John Paul was messing around with the girl next to him, but his teacher wasn't having it, and he told him, "You'll never succeed in anything in life." That comment really stuck with him, and he vowed to prove him wrong. John realized that school wasn't for him, and he needed to take a different path. Luckily, right before graduation, a Navy recruiter came by his high school, and John Paul decided this was his chance. The connection he found in his gang, he felt he could find in the Navy. More importantly, he would be making a stable legal income. But after just 2 years in the Navy, he left with honor to pursue something else. He was just beginning to find his passion, something he was naturally good at: sales. But just as he found his calling, his life began to fall apart. He had quickly gotten married and had a son when he was only 19, and they were living together in a tiny hut. And like most early marriages, things were not working out. One day, he got home from work, and his wife asked him for his car keys. She said she was going to the store, but in reality, she was leaving him for good. She left him a note saying she couldn't take it anymore. His son was left on the ground next to a mound of his clothes. And this wasn't spontaneous either. His boss called him up and fired him. All John could do was sit on the floor and cry. He had just lost his job, his shelter, his wife, and had no idea what to do. But he still had discipline, and he told himself he had to make it out of this. Thankfully, his neighbor overheard what happened and offered to give John his Cadillac to live in. He picked up soda cans and sold them for 2 cents apiece. And finally, after 2 weeks, one of John's friends offered him and his son a spare room, and he did everything he could to scrape up some money. Most notably, he jump-started his sales career selling something weird: encyclopedias. He would go door to door and was paid only commission. I mean, John only got his first sale after knocking on over 100 doors. Fast forward a few years, he landed a job at Time magazine selling editions like Sports Illustrated, Fortune, and Life magazine. But he was hungry to do more and wanted to become a top executive. So one day, he went up to his boss and asked him, "How can I become vice president of the company?" And of course, he just laughed in his face. But his boss said if he stayed with the company for 9 more years, they might consider him. John Paul thought that was some BS. He knew he deserved better. So he told everyone he knew about his goal, and his friend pointed him towards a more promising offer, a salesman job at a company called Redken, known for manufacturing beauty products. John Paul flew through the ranks all the way to national manager, and when he got to that level, he witnessed firsthand the unethical tests they performed on animals. And he couldn't just stand there and let that happen. So he voiced his opinion and complained to the executives, but instead of hearing him out, they fired him. Thankfully, he quickly bounced back and got a new management job with Fadel. And there, he helped increase the profits by 50%. But once again, he was fired because he didn't fit in. He had some more success with other companies and learned his way around business and marketing, eventually becoming so good that he was one of the best in the hair industry. John met a man named Paul Mitchell, and he immediately saw potential. John Paul was great at the business and marketing side of things. Paul Mitchell was one of the best hairdressers and formulators in the industry. It was a match made in business heaven, so they decided to partner up and set a crazy goal. They wanted to build the best hair company of all time, John Paul Mitchell Systems. After working on it all day and night, they pitched their company idea to a European investor. And just like that, they were accepted for a loan of $500,000. John and Mitchell ensured they would consistently innovate. They became the first company ever to not use animals for product testing, and it became part of the company motto. After that, they discovered a special plant called AAP POI that had many benefits for the hair and skin. They were one of the first companies ever to care about using green energy as well. Together, they were pioneers of the industry. By 1985, the company made over $100 million in sales. So John Paul Mitchell Systems was getting more and more successful by the day, but not before yet another roadblock. In 1989, John's partner Paul Mitchell was diagnosed with cancer and shortly after passed away. John Paul Dioria was left alone to take over the company, but he'd gone through enough adversity, he was ready. Not only did he lead the company to new heights, he did so by giving back. He founded Paul Mitchell Schools to help aspiring hairdressers learn the right way. With these principles, the company was raking in hundreds of millions a year, and John marketed his way into becoming the first hair brand to sponsor the Olympics. With all the good press and being a great salesman, he was able to get over 30 different distributors to sell this product to thousands of salons. And with that, they finally reached a milestone of $1 billion in sales a year. He's donated millions to combat homelessness, specifically in Austin, Texas, where they not only feed the homeless, they also have an entrepreneur center to help aspiring business owners. He also signed the Giving Pledge along with 200 other billionaires, where he vowed to give over half his income back to charity. But John Paul wasn't done yet. He had grown one company. Now it's time for another. So he founded Patron Tequila, which you can still find in any liquor store today. In 2018, he sold Patron for $5.1 billion. And with his newly acquired wealth, John purchased a $50 million Malibu mansion, 9 supercars, and a private jet. If anyone should be able to enjoy their money, it's him. In the end, everything will be okay. And if it's not okay, it's not the end. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey of transformation. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Finance Master for more empowering stories and valuable insights.